Here's a fun square root question that I like to ask my algebra students. What is square root of 5 plus square root of 5? And I also like to give them these options. We have square root of 10, square root of 20. Here's a fun square root question that I like to ask my algebra students. What is square root of 5 plus square root of 5? And I also like to give them these options. Square root of 10, square root of 15, square root of 20, and also square root of 25. Well, you should pause the video, think about it, put your answer in the comment before you watch the solution. Done? Okay. Of course, when you see square root of 5 plus square root of 5, 5 plus 5 on the inside is just 10. So that should be square root of 10, right? No. This right here is very incorrect. We cannot do that when we are adding square root numbers. One thing that you can do to verify this is not correct is use a calculator. If you see square root of 5 plus square root of 5 on the calculator, you get this decimal number. But if you enter square root of 10, well, it's a different decimal number, so they are not equal. So how exactly do we really combine the square roots? Here is the idea. If the radicals are the same, like the square root and then the 5 inside, then you just have to ask yourself, how many do you have altogether? We have 1 square root of 5 plus another 1 square root of 5. Altogether, we have 2 square root of 5. Again, it's just 1 square root of 5 plus 1 square root of 5, and that is 2 square root of 5. Okay, then after you have done this, it's like, I don't see the options though, so it's still kind of weird, but don't worry. You have two choices. One is you can break down these numbers and then try to match with that, or you can somehow use this, do it backwards, and then match with one of these. I will show you guys both. For this, notice there's no coefficients right here. So for the 2, I'm going to purposely write it as 2 times 2 is 4, put that in the square root. Square root of 4 is equal to 2, and then that's a multiplication. Where there's nothing in between, we mean to say a multiplication. Now, when we are multiplying two square root numbers, if the insides are both positive, it's okay to multiply the insides. So we get square root of 20. That is the answer, which is option C, just like that. Another way to look at it is you go through these options and you can see that you start with square root of 20 and you ask yourself, what times 4 will give you 20, but one of the numbers has to be a perfect square. Do not say 2 and 10. 2 is not a perfect square. 10 is also not a perfect square. But 4 works. By the way, don't ever say 1. 1 does not break down any number, so don't use 4. So break down 20 as 4 times 5, and they are both in the square root. Square root of 4 is a regular 2, and then you still maintain that square root of 5, which you can match with this. So that's another way to do that. Cool, huh? So now here's just some notes for you guys. The key for this video is that if you're adding square root numbers, such as square root of a plus square root of b, make sure you do not just add the insides together and say that's square root of a plus b. Same thing if you have a subtraction. Do not just subtract the numbers on the inside. They do not work. Unless b is equal to 0, that means you are not really adding or subtracting anything, but that's an exception. In general, don't do this. And also, if you happen to see the numbers on the insides are equal, then you see that square root of a plus square root of a does give you 2 of them, 2 square root of a. And if you're subtracting square root of a minus square root of a, well, for this one, why don't you guys let me know what the answer is? That's it.